Brilliant. No problems at all. I think I've got my canvas set up perfectly. Right, this is a very, very random live stream at the last second. And I just thought I would try doing a live stream apart from sitting at my desk. Hello, we've got absolutely no one at this stage because everybody is watching the football, of which I've got on my screen right in front of me. So if you see some flashing lights during this live stream, then it is Scotland who are struggling. They look like a second division team compared to the other teams. Anyway, we have got one person. Who is this person? Who is the person who has decided to join this rather pointless video? No, it's not pointless. I'll be doing this for about an hour tonight. Not necessarily Ford Focus Mark 1 related, just general chit chat, and a rather casual vote at the end of this. I say casual because it's a decision that I've yet to make, but I thought I would get some insight into your opinion, being the people that have been watching me for quite a long time. And it is a big decision, actually. For me, it is anyway. We have 3 people here. And who have we got? Please put your comments down and get the conversation rolling. This is a little channel live stream update, cup of tea chat. I don't know what this is, but I have some spare time. So if anybody has got any messages, any questions, yes, you can ask questions. This could be a question and answer session. Not many people watch these live streams, so I don't care really what this is. It hasn't really got any function apart from being a general chat episode. So please, 3 people, somebody put a comment. 3 people, come on, one of you put a comment, say hello. Nope, still 1-1. Come on, someone put a comment. I've got 3 people. Come on, somebody, one of you 3 people. Someone's put a thumbs up. Kevin, hello from Slough. Thank you very much, buddy. How are you doing? And thank you for joining. Your new name. I've not seen you on a live stream before, and I'm pretty good with that. So welcome to a live stream. Not normally what I would be doing, but since I've got the time, why not? Doing well here. Good. I'm glad. Now, because I don't recognise your name, are you a Rover person, Ford person, or a bit of both? Which one is it? Because people generally have to be one with me. I only really support Rover and Ford stuff. I like other cars. I like Saabs, but I haven't got one at the moment. Still looking at Saab 9, very, very late Saab 9.5s. Not the last but one generation, the very last generation of Saab 9.5s. They look so good, where the back window sort of curls into this quarter panel and then the C-pillar just bends all the way to the back. I love that. I think that is so underrated, it's untrue, and people don't look at them. Problem is, I'd have to go diesel because I don't think petrols were very common on them. So it was diesels. I'm not a diesel person, and being around here, that'd be a problem, because if I was looking at a Saab 9.5, it would be my main driver. Can't have a main driver where I can't drive to work because it's in the clean air zone, and I can't drive halfway through Birmingham to get to half of my destinations. I have to keep going all the way around my own city. Pathetic. Ford Focus Mark 1 2001 plate gear, lovely. So a pre-facelift then, presumably on a Y reg. That is nice to know. What colour is it? Marian, hello, how are you? Long time no see. If it is the person that I think it is, might not be. I don't know actually. That might be a bit embarrassing. So if you didn't, you don't know me. I thought you were somebody else then. And Ash, hello, how are you, buddy? Nice for you to join. I just thought I'd do a completely random live stream here. I'm going to start on the subject of Well, it's been dreadful, hasn't it? It's been a dreadful summer. We can all talk about the wet weather because the show season doesn't seem to have kicked off at all. Tomorrow is the longest day. So basically, we are halfway through the summertime effectively, and it feels like what has there been? There's been I tell you what, the car shows that I've been to so far, I've been blessed with really good weather, but they have not been many. I've had so many days in my diary with all these shows. Sometimes I have to cross them off because a job comes up and then that kicks forward and then I can't go to where I'm meant to go or plan to go, so I cross it off. Sometimes it's because of the weather, and the weather has been unpredictable. Unfortunately, there is never a good month in this country to plan a car meet, and it's been a bit of a problem with the Ford Focus Mark 1 group trying to actually find good dates. And so far, we've had one good day. We are due to have another good day, hopefully July, in the middle of what usually is a heat wave. So that's going to be an interesting day for my non-air conditioned Ford Focus. And Nick, you're going to enjoy that day with a non-air conditioned CL. That's going to be brilliant. Kevin, metallic green 2-litre 16 valve, 2-litre gear. That's really nice. That's a very niche engine, even on a gear. I'll tell you something, 90% of gear petrols are 1.6s and 1.8s. They are not 2 litres. So that's quite niche, that is. Look after it. Plenty of punch, and not as fast as what people tend to say. Depends what you use it for. If you use it around town, don't expect it to be much better than a 1. Well, it won't be. It'd be worse than a 1.6. But because 1.6 is the perfect economy engine for me. The 1.8 is a little bit thirstier, but quite, I think, probably the niche between the two. 2-litre can be a little bit more thirsty, but the truth is, you don't really buy a car this age to discuss fuel economy. I think if you're looking at a car that's over 20 years old and you're asking what good's the fuel economy on it, you're in the wrong game. These cars are 20 years old now, and they've got so many inefficiencies in them. For instance, things from sensors that are working but not as efficient as they were, a bit slack, bit slow, like your oxygen sensors. Your front oxygen sensor, it's supposed to do some switching. So, okay, so if you put a scanner on and you read in the values of a front oxygen sensor, it should be switching. Sometimes when they get old, they can work within the parameters of what they're meant to do, but only just. An MOT would reveal that, and they would literally just go really slow. The switching is slow. So that's one major point, really. There's several sensors that can weaken. There's several things. The catalytic converter can get weak as well, and that can cause all sorts of issues. There's a lot of things that, in basic servicing, lack of oil changes. There's a lot of inefficiencies in a car, which means that whatever MPG that you would expect from the book, don't expect that today, unless you've had all this stuff done. I've had 99% of it done on my Focus Mark 1. So what it says in the book in terms of MPG for a 1.6 automatic, which was about 30 around town, 30-ish, maybe 28, not very good on the fuel they are. The 2-litre automatics are not much better either, but not much worse actually, to be fair. But I can expect 28, nothing worse, because it's all been done. And to be fair, my fuel economy, going to the motorist, for instance, which was a good drive on a motorway and A roads, 42 to the gallon. That's not bad actually for an automatic, any automatic. So anyway, I will leave that there. But nowhere near as fast as what people make them out to be. Marion, I'm doing well. I think you remember me from doing the other live streams of yours. I'm sorry, I have confused you with somebody else because I didn't think you were that person. Sorry about that. Just, my head's a bit screwed. Yes, I do remember you from the other live streams now. Thank you for joining. I hope you're good as well. And thank you for clearing that one up. Kevin, I am trying to look after it. Good. Well, I hope you are trying to look after it, otherwise you should have known it. Well, To be fair, I am going to be blunt like that. I'm the sort of person who thinks that if you've got a Mark 1, just look after it now. Because if you look after it, look after you. If you're not looking after a Mark 1 when at 2001, so it's 23 years old, it's a year older than mine. At 23 years old, you're not going to expect any car to work unless you look after it. And I do find it quite ironic that even as good as a Mark 1 is, even today as a Bangonomic, very, very small number of them are now used as Bangonomics because they're all disappearing, they're all falling apart. You can't expect them to not fall apart at that age. So I expect anybody to try and look after it to the best of their ability. And it will look after you. And they will. But they require a lot more money these days to actually work properly. And that's the problem with Mark 1s now. The reality is they've all got serious problems. Hence why I've not bought another one, which is what I'm going to come to at the end of this, kind of halfway in. So I'll get through the comments and then I'll start and pick a moment to talk about it when we've got enough people. I'm the guy with the 1.4 L 2004 1 times. Did you mean 1.4 L? You mean 1 times airbag in tonic colour? Is that the, sorry, 1 times, or did you put LX there? Was that meant to be LX? Could you correct that? Is that LX 1.4? If that's an LX 1. You've only got 1 airbag. Oh, goodness me. So it was the airbag delete. Thank you. Oh, my goodness me. That is rare. That is very rare. So somebody said, I don't want a passenger airbag. I just want a driver's airbag. Well, obviously, you had to have a driver's one. You could not have one. But the passenger one was a no-cost delete option, I think, throughout production. I'm sure if you look in the brochures, it was a no-cost option. And somebody insisted, I don't want that. But they got a T-shelf. I mean, to be fair, I wish the owner of my car had actually done that. Just deleted the passenger. I could do with a T-shelf. And they are decent T-shelves when there's no airbag there. But I say, I've never physically seen one without an airbag, so yours is quite a rarity. Kevin had to change the fuel pump last year, but the gauge slowly got worse, practically non-functioning. Yeah, that's your fuel sender. Sometimes the fuel senders in these aftermarket fuel pump sender assemblies where it's all complete. I don't recommend that you just change the fuel pump if anybody's watching this. Well, if you've got a fuel pump issue, you Mark 1, don't just change just the little pump, because the seals are not going to clamp down on it enough, unfortunately. And you have to pack it with washers, and even then you start losing pressure. I've known people to do that, put a new fuel pump in, put it back in the bowl, clip it in with the seals, put it back in, start the car, and the pump's still there. It's got no power because the pressure's gone. Those seals are leaking pressure internally within that bowl assembly. They unfortunately get crushed, so you have to use washers to pack it out to get the seal. I'd rather not do that at all. I'd rather just replace the whole thing, even if I think that the aftermarket senders are a bit hit and miss, rather than retaining the original. I can show you both ways when mine starts to go, but touch wood, mine has not started to go. No doubt it will happen now. Pingu Concord, what a great name that is. You're new as well. I have a MG ZS 120 plus CVT. Goodness me, that's rare. That is rare to get an MG ZS CVT. How many do you think are left? Good question. Not sure. I think I haven't got the exact readings because I haven't done this for the MG cars. I've only done it for the Rovers. I think there's less than about 20 of them. That is a ballpoint figure. Could be less, could be slightly more, but I reckon that's the figure we're looking at here. I cannot imagine many ZS CVTs ever. There weren't many made, and to have a automatic, even a CVT, it's a brilliant gearbox, and with the Steptronic, I find it's quite good if it's an MGF. If it's not an MGF, where it hasn't got the flappies. It's a bit funny with the gear lever, and I still think that the gearbox is best just left to do what it needs to do rather than the manual changes. So it made absolutely no sense to buy a ZS with that gearbox as an optional extra, but people did, and that's amazing. And I'm glad. I hope you're looking after it, because that is a rare car. And does yours rattle then? Does yours have the drive plate rattle? Because that's one of the jobs I'm going to have to do on Beatrix this winter probably. I've got to take it off the road and do the drive plate. I might not even film it because I am under so much time pressure. I don't think I can film it. Well, I'll film the best bits anyway, the bits that you want to see, and then we'll. Okay. It won't be an instruction one, but it'll be an interesting one to see how much mine's rattling, because I've seen it where people take the drive plates out and the springs are like they're shaking in their housings, like they're too small. And I think that's what's happening with mine. They're so bad. The Ford ones, the one on Project Ruby, my Mark III Fiesta, not a problem. They were made well from the start. Never a problem on Fiesta or Escort or Orion CVTs. Never a problem. Rover Metros, Rover Coupes, the original R3 that was introduced with the CVT. I think that obviously it would just be the 25, the 45, the F and the TF, and obviously the MG ZS and ZR. There was a ZR CVT. They didn't fit it to the 75 though, which is a shame, because I think that gearbox would have suited the 75 as well. But on all the Rover cars, from the Metro to the 25, 45 autos, rattle. Every single one of them. I don't know why they changed the design. Maybe they made it cheap. But it's annoying. I actually had this thought in my head, just having a mad moment. Do you know, it's so bad. I want to take the one off Ruby and put it on Beatrix to see if it's absolutely fine. But I wouldn't do that. That's sacrilege. But if I saw a Mark III Fiesta automatic with the drive plate going spare, that's mine. I don't care if it's second hand, 30 years old. They're made well. They'll last they'll last forever, because they were made well. Those weren't. I also have Marianne, I also have an ultrasonic alarm. Had no electric mirrors and other options. That's interesting. Not many Mark 1s would have an ultrasonic alarm apart from the SC170. No electric mirrors. No, that's interesting on an... well, yeah, that's a weird mix. Electric mirrors should be common on an LX, and yeah, funny one, that one. But the thing is, a lot of them were dealer options. Many Mark 1s do not have the original mats. Most first owners didn't buy the original factory mats. The ones that we've got today, including the rubber ones in my Focus, and the cloth versions, and I've also got some of them that I've shown in a previous live stream, they are accessories and dealer accessories. And Ford have just got them in stock, really, and they've still got them today. The original factory optional mats, they come in like, well, from what I've been told, I thought it was rubber and just sort of a woven cloth material. Apparently you can get them in velour as well. Didn't know that. Never seen one in velour. Never. And I don't think it'd be proper velour though, because it wouldn't be a pile. I've never seen one like that. Kevin, noisy bumps over the road. We'll have to check where the rattles are coming from. Front or back, where's it coming from? Narrow it down a bit. Enash, the only problem I've had with my 2001 1.6 Z-Tech gear is the speedo stopped working around 40k. No problems, and now 78. Oh, is that the speedo sensor by any chance? Yeah, that is a common problem. I'm assuming that was the problem. Pingo, yes, it rattles a bit. Only done 58, and it's on its second gearbox. Oh dear. The CVT has struck again, hasn't it? That was probably because the original one wasn't looked after. Somebody ragged it. That's the thing. I think that the reason why an MGS or CVT is going to be so rare, and a ZR CVT, is because when you think of the mindset of the buyer that bought it, yes, they want the CVT. Maybe they couldn't drive manuals. Maybe they wanted a sporty car but couldn't drive manuals, and they've driven it very ferociously and ragged it a bit. These gearboxes don't like that. And also, if you don't change the fluid, it's dead. You get a dead gearbox. Just done the head gasket and it's running well at the moment. Did you use the elastomer? Just asking. But 1.8s are very vulnerable to that because the cylinder walls are so thin because of the fact that they bored it out from basically a 1.4. That the K series was designed as a 1.4 and they bored it to a 1.6 and they bored it just to a 1.8, and that's enough. You can't go anymore. They maxed it out, and there is a lot of shifting in that 1.8. Can't believe they fitted that engine into Freelanders. Absolutely ridiculous idea that was. Who thought of that idea? But do you know what when you say second gearbox, was that a second-hand one? Do you know how much mileage the original one did before it packed up? Just change the fluid. Just change the fluid, and you have no worries. I've got to do the drive plate this year, soon, so I've got to drop fluid again anyway. It's been 2 years since I put the fluid in, so I've got to change it again, and just give the filter a bit of a clean and put it back in. The filters are not obtainable, not really, not the proper ones anyway. So fingers crossed it continues to run. At 58 it's absolutely nothing, and Beatrix has done 50, and I think if I hadn't changed the fluid, the gearbox wouldn't have been too happy about that. So I'm just hoping that I do have a spare gearbox hanging around. I hope to never use it, to be honest. That's a problem when you've got a car and someone asks, well, what's that? Oh, it's a spare gearbox. And then the other person's like, do they cause problems then? Because nobody has spare gearboxes lying around unless there's a known fault. But usually it's because they just aren't. They're a bit. They require lots of maintenance, and that is a fluid change every 2 years or 30,000 miles, whichever sooner. It's usually the 2 years. Mariam, 2 days ago I changed the sway bar links because I had some knocking over bumps. I hope they will last longer than the last ones. Oh, they didn't last long. Was that an aftermarket one by any chance? Because they don't really tend to last that long. So, hey, good promotion work. It was a coincidence I just picked this up. I had to wash it because it's got dust in it. That's how little I actually use this. Front. Okay, the front. That will be anti-roll bar links most likely. If it's going over speed bumps, I think it would be. You can have ball joints. It's either that or ball joints, but usually it's drop links at the front. Can you go and get Lemforder ones? Lemforder. Lemforder. Okay. Get the parts number. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but get the parts number. They're good thick ones. Rover 45s don't tend to suffer from drop link problems. They don't have drop links effectively. They've just got one big thick bar, thicker than a Mark 1. Thicker than a Mark 1. It's like they deliberately made the bars a little bit thin on a Mark 1 to give that little bit of deliberate flex. I think that was deliberate. A lot of engineering in the Mark 1, and there's a reason for everything in suspension systems. There's a reason for everything. The 45 has big, thick anti-roll bar that goes to the bottom arms, which look like something from a 1970s car, but they're very thick cast iron bottom arms. And they sort of clamp in with a couple of bushes. And that's your anti-roll bar. Quite clever. Very old school. Normally drop links. Yep, definitely, Dave. Thanks for joining. Pingu, yes, elastomer, good. Previously had an EMOS, which rusted out and leaked coolant down the front of the block within 4 years. Thank you for saying that, because once again, I had a few people come to me and say, I think you're spreading misinformation. You're joking. So you're telling me that an MOS has actually worked? Just honestly, no. Yeah, so what that is down to is, well, it's quite interesting, that is, because to have rusted, it was obviously a cheap one, and the coolant level may not have been maintained to its correct strength. Was there a bit of water in there that shouldn't have been in there? Because that's what will cause your corrosion of MLS. Multi-layer gaskets can corrode, and that's why they go. You really do need to keep an eye on antifreeze levels and have the proper coolant. Putting water in your engine, you might as well just put some acid in. That will just destroy everything. You've got to treat water like acid in your water system. You don't put water in there. I know you see people just put water in their cars because they're on the motorway and suddenly, a K-Series has decided to start cooking itself on the way home. It's an over-exaggeration because we don't hear that story these days because people look after their K-Series and do the heads properly. But let's just say it was, and we've run out of a bit of coolant and we need some more water to get to the next motorway junction. Well, of course, you're going to put water in because it's anything available. Unless the AA man has got some coolant, and I doubt it. M. Ferreira, hello, buddy. How are you? If you want a rust-free Focus here in Portugal, there are plenty, no salty roads, and hold on a second. So my battery on my laptop is starting to go. My screen just went a bit dull. Sorry about that. Absolutely. Unfortunately, in the UK, it is far from the reality and parts of North America. But that makes it more fun in some respects, although it doesn't make it fun when you're dealing with rust. It's not fun, but it does make it interesting, doesn't it? Because it means that if you see any around here, oh, it's 1-1. The Scottish can't even win and beat the Swiss. I think Scotland are going home. Oh, well, I'll knock that off. Euros. No. It makes it interesting because when you do see a car, for instance, the same age as the Mark III Fiesta, it's all pleasurable because people are kind of astonished that it exists because they degrade and they erode and they want to return to nature. So it makes it a bit more challenging. But the better the challenge, the more rewarding it is, don't you find? Marion, yes, Lem Forder is what I've used now. Good, don't use anything less. Honestly, I would give the recommendation that every single Mark 1 Focus owner only buys Lem Forder drop links. Don't go to Ford, they're too expensive. Lem Forder, you can get I think you can get 2 of them for 40 quid or something like that. It could be, well, it's not cheap, but the reason they're not cheap is because they actually last and they won't give any problems. You fit it once, you'll never fit new ones again. And we know Mark 1s are hungry for drop links. They will eat drop links for breakfast if you put crap ones on. And you only put the best on. And the best ones will last a long time before they get eventually beaten to death. The suspension of a Mark 1 is very harsh on those drop links. But it's the price we pay for excellent driving dynamics. There has to be a compromise and a sacrifice there. Bingo, yeah, I believe the original gearbox was changed around 50k and replaced with a second-hand one. So you don't know how many miles that one's done. So that's done 8,000 since you fitted it. But how many miles had it done before that? See, that's what I'll be very wary of. I mean, Beatrice has done 54,000. I mean, I've known them to go for 110,000. There's a few members, including my good friend Martin, who's driving around in his 45 CVT, who you're going to see a video on very soon. And that car's done over 114,000 miles on the original gearbox. The only thing he's had done to it is the usual problem, and it's the primary bearing. And that is located in the side of the gearbox. You don't have to remove the gearbox. It's not a specialist job. You just take the side plate off the gearbox. You have to drop the gearbox a bit, take the side plate off, and you have to withdraw the oil pump very carefully. There's a few things you have to do to that. And then you'll see the bearing, and that's the bearing you change. It's a big bastard, and it really is a pain. But with the right puller, you can extract that bearing and fit a new one. And new bearings are very easy to fit. And usually, if you catch it before it starts getting worse, you'll save the gearbox. If you let it get worse, what it will do, I don't know if you've watched my videos on Project Milo. You might need to go back. There's a blue impression-free CVT that I've done before on this channel. It's been scrapped, unfortunately, because of that gearbox. There's several issues. But if you go back through my Rover videos, you'll find that, and you watch that first video and you listen to that gearbox. That is how bad they can sound when the sound gets worse and worse and worse. They sound like electric milk floats. So as soon as you hear a wheezing, bearing, buzzing sound, stop. Do not drive that car. That gearbox needs a new bearing in the side of it. Hopefully I'll do a video on it, because Beatrix is not making that sound at the moment, but the bearings are a weak point, and they will go. It's the primary one that goes, none others. And it can be done from the side. So I've got the tools, and I'll show you how to do it. Hopefully you will not have that problem. There is a particular, if you watch Paul the Pingu. If you watch Paul the Roverman's videos, and if you do follow him, there's a press release 45 in Celadon green. That's a 1.8 CVT. You really early interior, lovely interior. Apart from the black headlining, don't like that. And he's been trying to sell it for a long time. And I think if I hadn't have owned Beatrix, I'd have probably bought it by now. But in two separate videos, I've looked and listened to that particular car, and I can hear a gearbox problem with that car. That gearbox has done the car's done 100 and something miles. It's done too many miles for me on that gearbox if that's not had servicing. And it's had 2 fluid changes, and I'm not sure why that is. Why you would need to change it twice. It makes me think there's something odd going on. And I could swear I could hear buzzing sounds from that gearbox, like the primary bearing was starting to go. And I turned around to somebody else and I said, that's never going to sell, because there's too many people that understand the issues with these gearboxes now because of some of my videos, and they won't touch it. So it's gone to Boaty, I believe. I don't know if you know, Boaty is a really good friend of Paul the Roverman. So it's gone to him. So Boaty has now got the earliest 45 in existence with that car, because it is, and the 45 V6. So unbelievable. Oh, gearbox change, and the multi-layer gasket was done by the previous garage. Rubbish. Garages don't really want to know about a K-Series. They say, oh, it's a K-Series, why are you bothering? And what they do is, before they've even taken the head off to inspect anything, the liners, they order the gasket kit. How can you know what gasket to order before you've taken the head off? That's what every garage does. That's why they get it wrong. That's why a K-Series head, you've done the right thing, and I'm really pleased you've done that, and you're going to reap the results of doing it yourself, because honestly, you will have 90% better success than a garage. I just don't trust them no more. They're absolutely useless. They're just fitters. They can't actually do anything these days. They're not skilled enough. And forever, I would like to have the 1.6 or 2 litre engines here, only available 1.4 or 1.8 diesel. You're joking? That's a bit limited. I didn't know that Portugal was limited. That's due to tax, presumably. That must be due to tax. That's quite limiting. That is really limiting. Marianne, I recently bought a 2003 Mark 1 1.6 engine coupe in Panther Black. Just like yours, except it's got manual gearbox. I have some repairs to do, but I really want to restore it to mid condition. Just be aware about the paint. The paint is going to take a lot of work. Panther Black is a lovely colour, but it's a curse of a colour. You are going to see all the scratches, which is what I'm going to come to in about 10 minutes. Just give me 10 more minutes. Because some of you on here have watched me for a while and might have a vested interest, I'll be doing some other videos again, and I'll be asking people to share their opinion. Matthew, greetings on the USA. Hello, Matthew. Greetings. Thank you for joining us. Presumably Ford Focus Mark 1. Yeah. Which one do you own? I'm assuming. Oregon 59. Welcome to the live stream. My Focus 1.4 sometimes when turning on brings the revs up to 2 or 3 and he is not accepting the gas well. Sometimes turning on again works. Sometimes I floor it and it gets better. Right, okay. That's your idle control valve, most likely. It's at the front of the engine. If you look at the engine, you'll see some octopus legs. That's the inlet manifold with all that 4 octopus legs, okay? To the right-hand side of it, just down, you'll see a little silver thing with 2 bolts. That's the air control valve. Take the 2 bolts out, disconnect the plug from the wiring. There's a little plug on it. Take the plug out, take the 2 bolts out, take it out, clean it. Carb cleaner, clean it out. It gets stuck. Put it back in, connect it back up, tighten the 2 little bolts up, start it up. And then tell me that hasn't worked, because I think it has. I think that's the problem there. Or throttle position sensor. They do tend to go and not throw a code. That's another easy one. And that's not far away from the idle control valve on the right hand side. On the throttle, you'll just have a little sensor with a plug that goes to it, held in by 2 tiny little torque screws, T20s, I believe. They're usually quite rusty, those 2. That's an easy swap. But get a decent aftermarket one if you need to. Delphi. Mariam, check for vacuum leaks. Under the inlet, there is a tubing, most of it definitely broken. That's a good point, actually. I forgot to mention about the breather hose. It can be the breather as well. Just clean the idle air and check for any holes in that breather. So where you've got the octopus legs, you've got a breather pipe that goes, it's behind them. It's in a deep dark. Get a torch. Get a torch and have a look at that pipe to see whether it's collapsed or there's an obvious hole in that pipe. And it might well be that. It might well be that. And I think that's actually a point that I missed. Thank you, Mariam, for pointing that out, actually. And it's advice that I've given before, and I almost forgot it then. But sometimes a idle air control valve, one that's clogged will do it. And an aftermarket one, they behave really poorly. So I hope that people stick to genuine ones. I've got 3 genuine ones in my spares because the aftermarket ones are that bad. So I'll never need to get an aftermarket one. Also known as the Codfather. Oh, sorry, sorry, Pingo. Yes, I followed Paul and bought the ZS from him. Oh, so that is the one you've bought. That was up for sale for a while, actually. Nobody wanted it. A friend of mine was looking at it, actually. So now I know the one you've bought. It's got some paint issues, that one, hasn't it? It's had a few stripes stuck down on it. Go faster. Headlining, how's the headlining in that as well? That was starting to go as well. I now know this one. Because, as I say, CVT ZSs are so rare. They don't often come up. And when they do, they're quite well known. So now I do know that one. Are you on the CVT register group that I started? It's a very quiet group. There's only about 140 of us. I haven't done anything in that group for ages because I've just let it kind of just run along as it is. But if anybody's got a problem with their CVT, they can always put it up. Someone had a problem with his R3 216, because when the R3 came out, it was available on the 216, so 1.6 K series with the CVT. And someone's had an issue where he's been told by a specialist, a garage that specialises in gearboxes, automatic and manual, to scrap the car because the gearbox is gone. And yet when I looked at the video online, all it is his drive plate's buggered, while the springs is not only, it's shattered and it's just rattling, and it's basically, it's not smooth no more. It's got drive and reverse, so there's nothing wrong with the gearbox. It's the drive plate, and they diagnosed it as a broken gearbox. How can it be broken if it's moving forward and backwards? Oh, honestly. Emperor, yes, taxation is very high. That's why, to avoid the tax, particularly on petrols. Oregon, I cleaned it, got better with oil. Oh, so you have done that, but now I think it's something to do with the coil pack, or the second thing with the gas throttle, because my gas pedal was a bit worn out. No. Check your breather pipe. So you've done what I've asked already. See, people do as I ask even before I say it. Fantastic. I'm joking. Check the breather pipe, please, underneath. Check for holes. Okay, and come back to us on that one. The throttle position sensor can be fixed in most cases. You disassemble, clean the restrictive film, and bend a bit of metal part that touches the resistance film so it makes contact better. You can do that, but it's a track that wears out a lot. And even by doing that, you can't negotiate for wear, particularly with cars that have done a higher mileage. If it's a low mileage one, that's a good idea. But I really wouldn't recommend in splitting them apart unless you're confident that it will work properly afterwards, because that can really affect things in a big way. But I'll keep that in mind for when I look at mine. Maybe I should split mine apart and have a look at that. Because I like fixing things rather than just bin it and replace. You know, we've got this habit of, because if you start binning things and replacing it, you become no better than the local garage where they're just fitters. I always do that with starter motors and alternators. Change the brushes. All you do is change the brushes. Sorry, hold on. I've got Gary Lineker on. Oh, lovely. Oh, it's really dark now. That's too dark, that is. Excuse me. I'm going to have to sort the lighting out here. 2 seconds. Hold your thoughts. Right, that's better. Well, it is the damn it. Right, trying to get comfy. Okay, let me change the angle of the laptop. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, excuse me a second. Yes, that's better. Okay. Famous desk behind me, vacant today. Right. Let's see if I can. Sorry, I've lost that last comment. Oh, Dave, after working on them, drain the ECU and relearn by normal drive. Yeah, you just gonna disconnect the battery for about half an hour, turn the headlights on so it's completely it just gets rid of residual energy by turning the headlights on, maybe speeds the process up. Reconnect and your car will go into a relearn mode, and it will probably relearn over a few distances. And you might find it might be a bit more sort of either. Well, I've found it when people do the relearn in that manner, and on many cars, your car might be a bit more powerful, and then suddenly it becomes less powerful as it's relearned a new parameter. That which is quite interesting. There's a trick on Rover 45s where if you want to find out if the map sensor has gone wrong, you disconnect the map sensor, and if the car works perfectly fine or has more power, you know your map sensor's completely gone, and it doesn't always throw a code. You can check it with a multimeter to make sure it's working as it should. You can, because it's a variable resistor. That's what it is. A throttle position sensor works in the same way as a fuel sender. It just has a different voltage per what part of the track it's on. Same principle, really. Urigan, thank you for various helpful advices. All of them have made sense. No problem, no problem. I was very blessed by a comment I've just seen about an hour ago, saying that my channel is an absolute diamond for all the videos. It's pretty easy for me to talk about this because I've done and been there and done it. It's only really the diesels where I have a particular sort of blank spot because I'm not a diesel person. I appreciate how I know how they work. I know the principles of how they work, but I don't know as much as other people, particularly with Mark 1s and diesels. If you asked me to do a timing belt and chain change on a TDCi, I'd be like, I'll point you in the direction of somebody else I know, because I wouldn't touch them. And even people who understand them, it's a bit fiddly. Pingu, yes, all the stickers have been removed, the headliner has been replaced, and the bonnet has been resprayed. Good man. You're not wasting any time. I'm really pleased that the car's gone to you. I'm sure Paul is really pleased to have sold a car to someone who's actually improved it over time, and rather not somebody. I'm sure Paul has had quite a few people buy some of his cars that he sold, and they don't have any interest in the car. They just buy it because it's a familiar name, and Rovers are cheap, and people just run them into the ground. And I bet there's a sense of that, and probably frustration. I certainly would be. So I'm sure that he would be very happy to know that that car is in good health, and it's nice to know that the bits that he left for the next owner to do have been done. I am actually, on this basis, you might want to stay in contact, because I'm about to go and do a business transaction to buy a bulk load of CVT drive plates from the manufacturer in China, mainly because I'm not happy with the price that a certain MG Rover specialist is asking for them. And I've discovered how to buy them in bulk, 10 of them. It's going to be a lot of money, but I'm going to buy 10 of them, put one on Beatrix, and I've got another 9 that I can sell at a stupidly low price to anyone that needs a drive plate. So if you want to replace the drive plate in your 45, your MG ZS, I said 45, then ZS, then please come to me about it, because I can get you one very cheap. It will be towards the autumn, winter sort of time that I'll be starting to do things like that. But that's going to happen as long as I'm still able to buy the drive plate. So if you are interested, I've got your name in the book to have one, because the asking price from this specialist, I know we've got to support the Rover specialists, but £220 is daylight robbery, knowing how much I've seen them go for in bulk. It's not on. That's another video for another day anyway. Sometimes there is an oily smell in my cockpit. What might be the cause? Focus 1.4. Oily smell? That's not right. You should check to see if you've got any leaks, because a Mark 1 should not smell oily. Even ones with oil leaks don't smell oily, so check for oil leaks. Yes, the resistive film is worn out. You can't do too much. Yeah, it's like the fuel sender in Ruby, I've got the impression that when it gets around half a tank, it it either overreads or underreads, meaning that part of the track, because that's where the needle has been sitting a lot of its life, it's worn out that part of the track. And so you sort of drive on the motorway and you think you've got, you've got half a tank, and then suddenly you blink and then it's gone down that much. Because why has it gone down that much? It's not reading properly. So you never run low in that car, because I don't trust it. That will leave me stranded if I trusted it. Pingu also previously had a Honda HRV CVT Mark 1, which was brilliant until one day it lost reverse. Changed the fluid, was okay for a while, then started losing drive again in reverse and drive. Oh, what a pain. Yeah, the Japanese had a go at CVTs, and they didn't quite get it right. It's a shame that, because you seem to have resuscitated it. So you obviously enjoy CVTs then. I'm really pleased that another person actually thinks really good things about them, because they are way ahead of the game. The problem is with CVTs, even 20 years ago when these cars were around, even 30 years when the Fiesta kind of came out with it in the late 80s, and the Fiat Uno Selector and the Panda Selectors, I believe, they were way too advanced for what people were used to, because in the late 80s, early 90s, you are still pretty much a conservative audience, and a CVT with absolutely no gears is too futuristic. People couldn't get used to it. It's like Ford Sierras. People never really got used to a Ford Sierra. It was too brash for a conservative audience, and it never sold. So CVTs were too advanced for their years back then, but now everyone's driving CVTs. If you haven't noticed, a lot of gearboxes are CVTs. So people who kick them, they're actually really good, and they'll actually outlive every other gearbox. Dave, best way to remove positive and negative leads, touch together. Don't do that. Don't do that. I don't care if anybody's told you to do that at Ford. I never do that. Do not touch leads together. That is a really bad idea. That rings alarm bells, Dave. Try not to do that. No. Yeah, that's a no. That is. I really would advise people not to take that advice. Unfortunately, I don't know who told you that, Dave. I don't like that. That is very risky. If you don't mind me saying so. School music. Would you have any advice for removing the rear axle? Thank you for joining the live stream. Removing the rear axle. Sorry, I've got to go back up. Rear axle, swivel pins, bolt and nut that is rusted. Try to get it off, but no luck. It's a Mark 1 KA. The only way of doing it is heat. You're gonna have to do heat. You're gonna have to heat it up and then use some of that. You can go to Tool Station and get a freeze spray, and just freeze it off. Yeah. So yeah, try that, because what you're doing is you're shocking it. You're heating it and then cool it. You're superheating it and then super cooling it, and you'll shock it off the thread. Hopefully that will work. It is great indeed. I want to get more introduced in mechanics in general, and I bought the Focus for the same reason as you pointed out in your video about introducing it. I just want to learn and repair. Well, good, and you're on the way. That's really good. That's what it's all about. I'm really pleased. Tadas, how are you, buddy? I'm really pleased you can join another live stream as usual. I hope you're good, buddy. One of my diesel experts. I'll ask you for advice on diesels any day of the week, so I don't have to answer the questions. So anybody in this live stream who has diesel questions, Tadas has just volunteered by joining. Pingo, sounds good to me. Good, I'm glad. It's on. Okay. Just stay in touch, and I'll let you know. I'll probably announce it in some way. It's not hard to remember that Pingu needs a drive plate. Marion, I see this method of draining the residual current from the system by short circuiting plus and ground together. I usually press the horn a few times. That should do it. I don't like it. I know, yeah, presumably this has come from an auto electrician. I prefer to do things the slow method. Evening, Adam. Just back from a car show at the Motorist. It was a pleasure, surprised to see a live stream. Do they do car shows at the Motorist? I didn't realise they do car shows at the Motorist in the middle of the week. Goodness me. I wish I was that close to the Motorist. But the thing is, none of these venues, the Great British Car Journey is the closest one to me. But I can't get there at that time on Friday. No way. Ever. There's no pubs by me that do car meets apart from the local one that I go to. In fact, I am going to that one. So if anybody's watching this, I don't usually say my whereabouts, but I think at the end of this month on a Sunday, they've got a car meet, and the people that will know where I'm going, it's Stourbridge. And I'm hoping I can take Ruby. If Ruby's not going, I can't go. But I might take Ruby to that show. But it's not guaranteed. It's 50-50. It depends on weather and if the car's working. Still problems with Ruby. Not huge ones, but I've opened a can of worms with that car. There's going to be a lot of work done to that car in the autumn in the engine department. In a good way, though. In a good way. Oh yes, that decision. Yeah, I'm going to come to that. So I'm going to get to the end of the comments, and then I'm going to get to the actual question. Well, actually, I'm going to leave this here while we come to a few. I'm just going to go down. I don't see any leaks. I've replaced the gearbox oil, later the speed sensor, some oil spilled during the process. Yes, it is that. It must be, because you can't smell oil in a Mark 1 unless something's been spilled. Dave, does it send it to Earth safe and quick? I don't know, Dave. I'm a bit funny about that one. But I could learn from something new, so that's the first time I've heard of that. Pingu, yes, I had a 216 Coupe CVT. Goodness me, so you've seen the one that Dave's got on this channel that I've done a review on. What a lovely car that was to drive. And I've done another job on that car, just a small job. But that gearbox, I'd probably never had a fluid change either. I'm remarkable that was working. But it works fine. Currently have another HRV CVT, which I'm fixing up for my daughter to learn to drive in. Good choice. Very good start. And to learn to drive in an automatic, well, do you know what? I don't need manual licenses. The only people that want manual licenses that want to own classic cars. I don't see the point in a manual license now. 10 years ago, yes. Yeah, go for it. Good driving experience in a CVT straight away. Get you hooked on CVTs, and then you'll never drive a conventional automatic ever again. Gaining the focus, it's like going into a slush-matic mania. I thought it was a good gearbox, but actually I think the CVT has proven it's actually really slushy and not for everyone. Don't see how it sends to Earth if the car stands on rubber wheels. Yeah, I'm a bit confused. Auto electrician from Ford taught you that, Dave. As I thought, but I'm a bit skeptical. Come and play with chat. Hi, I'm fine. How are you? Nice to join the live stream. Thank you very much. Mariam, that's weird. My electronics dashboard does not agree with this method. Not on a car, not on any electronic device. I agree. Too many sensitive things to do that. I'll tell you what. There's a tip that old mechanics give all the time for testing whether you've either got an alternator problem or battery problem. And that is starting the car and just warming it up. And then what you do, wearing a pair of rubber gloves, and you know what I'm going to say, is you pull the negative cable on the battery. If the car dies, the alternator's at fault. If it continues running, it's the battery that's at fault. That's a terrible way of doing things. That's what you did on cars before ECUs. So if you've got a Classic without an ECU, you can probably do that and get away with it, no problems. But you've got an ECU, you pull in the negative cable like that, you are going to surge something. Definitely not. It's a good trick. It's a good old-fashioned trick, and I've learned some good tricks over the years, but that's... Tadas, diesel expert, far from it, but I know things. Well, that's more than me. I got inspired about the power steering fluid change. Just a question, what fluid do I choose? That in the video I can't find. Granville is an English manufacturer, Tadas. Sorry about that. Well, I mean, I could always... I mean, you want to do it immediately, don't you? So I could always get you some when you come over here next year. If you can, I'll just give you loads. It's Ford 204A, M2C 204A. People fill up with 195A, which is an automatic transmission fluid, derived red fluid. Nick's car, the reason why it was so brown and slightly reddy, if you noticed, is because that system was full of ATF fluid. And because ATF fluid gets a bit funny over time, that's why it's taken a long time. By the way, we're going to have to do that again because Nick knows this. One of the jobs is to change the power steering switch before it blows. I've got to do the same job to my Focus, so I've got to do the same job on that. Changing that switch because it's a known fault, and if it's never been changed, it will blow. And mine is the original. Oh, goodness me, I've left it too late, but I'm going to sort it after this summer, so fingers crossed. But Nick's, again... we've got jobs that are coming up on that CL that most of you have watched. On another video, we've undersealed the entire body. We did it off camera after that job that you've seen in those two parts. I didn't want to film it. It was a horrible job. Derusting, wire brushing. We found a hole on the passenger side rear sill, but it's been patched up, quite patched up, but it's been okay. It's solid. It just needs a bit of grinding to make the welds look a bit nicer. So it's solid now, and we know there's no rust. Unfortunately, we have discovered that the back slam panel at the back of the boot is starting to go a bit holey. Too far gone, so it needs to be cut out, and a new panel needs to be welded in eventually. But I've said to Nick, we leave the back bumper. We don't want to know it's there. It's not there. It's not structural. It isn't. So I thought I would put that there. Nick's going to kill me for revealing that, but let's face it, we're going to find out eventually that has got a bit of a hole in it. But we'll deal with that when we have to deal with that. It's not a problem. The main thing is Nick's car is now all nice and solid. The subframe, I've refurbished that underneath. It needed a wire brush and a good coat of paint, and it's all good. The rear of the car, we haven't touched that. I haven't touched any of that because that's all coming off at some point. So that's all to come. Brake drums, handbrake is something that I'm going to have to sort very soon on that car. That's coming very soon. Fun times. So power steering fluid, yeah, we're going to have to do that again because the switch has got to come out. We've got to drain it and put it back in and do it again. Doesn't matter, it needs to be done again because the fluid isn't perfect, but I think it's very good. It's good. The fluid is good. It's to a good standard, but it will get dirty. And I'm quite glad actually because Nick's out there using that car occasionally, and he'll use it to a point where it will get dirty again, because there's still stuff in there, ATF, and we'll flush it out again with the switch. Right, I'm going to stop talking about this now. I will catch up with the comments in a second. Tea, excuse me. Right. Okay. So here's the point. And you guys who've bothered to actually tune into this live stream, you get to hear about this before everybody else. So I'm in a bit of a conundrum. Ruby is working, she's getting better, but she's going to need new piston rings. I'm going to change the piston rings on that engine. That engine is going to come apart. I'm doing a head gasket on a Ford. No, the head gasket hasn't gone. The engine works fine. It will get me to shows, but it's blowing too much. Blooming smoke. It's too much. I have to deal with that problem. And no amount of additives and special potions and snake oils, they're not going to sort that. I think we're dealing with a piston ring that's actually broken. I think it's that. I think the control ring on the one of the, I know which cylinder it is because I did a compression test and I did a video the other day of how to do a compression test for dummies. I thought that a compression test for dummies, and I discovered the cylinder that's causing the problem because there was no response between the dry and the wet test. So I know where the problem's coming from. And I'm still going to drive the car around because the compression is quite low but quite equal. So in the autumn, probably September ish, maybe October, I'm going to take the head off. The head is going to be stripped. I'm probably going to change the tappets for new ones because I'm not happy with them. I think they're still a bit clacky at the top because you can't clean them out. I have located a new old stock camshaft. And you know how the camshafts on a CVH, they're not made well. They're made of a very coarse, cheesy material where a lack of oil pressure, which a CVH, unfortunately, the oil system in a CVH is always going to slightly starve the top end of a little bit of oil under certain situations. So I've got one of them, hopefully. I've saved it. I've not bidded on it. It's up on eBay. Head gasket kit, seals, and I'm going to buy new valves, inlet and exhaust valves. Did you know that the inlet valves on a CVH are exactly the same as a Zetec and Sigma? I did not know that. So I'm going to get all those valves. I'm not going to even bother cleaning them up. I'm going to throw them in the bin. I'm going to check the valve guides to make sure the valve guides have got no wear in them because you never know. The valve stem seals, obviously, I've changed on camera. I think they'll just come off and I'll put them back on as long as there's no damage. It's all going to be cleaned up. The block, well, this is the thing. I've recently done a job underneath the engine and I thought, do you know something? Yeah, I think there's a few things we need to look at here. And removing the pistons is going to be one job. I'll have to rehome the block for a start and do a load of jobs. So rehoming it, putting new piston rings in, probably standard ones. Unless I see any damage to the bore, I'll just give it a Linish, a rehome at home. No pun intended on that one. Don't listen to what people say. I know engine builders have got a funny thing when they say this, but you can do a rehome job at home decently for a engine that's not a performance engine. If you want maximum horsepower, if it's an RS turbo or fast Ford or fast car and you want it to be fast, you get it to the machine shop. You'd have to send the whole block off to be machined properly. But I reckon I can get the cylinders nice and true and equal and unworn with a bit of luck. The pistons hopefully will come out and we'll put all new rings on, clean them up. Everything will be clean meticulously, and I'm going to take months over this because Ruby doesn't need any other job at the moment than that engine. And this is what's going to lead me to what I'm going to say next. I rented that garage for my Mark 1 Focus because I've had all this paintwork done, all that work done in rebuilding that car. And I didn't want it to be outside under a car cover with the horrendous weather we've had. I have felt very pleased that she's inside. However, my budget does not extend to 2 garages. Even if it was possible to find 2 garages, I'm very lucky to get that one down the road. And I have thought that there's been a bit of an imbalance here. So I'm going to ask the question here. What car do you think in my fleet should go in that garage? The Focus, which it is at the moment, or Ruby, the Mark III Fiesta? Because I intend at the moment to keep all three cars. Which car do you think should go in that garage, and which car should be outside my window under a quality car cover? Put your answers in the bottom. I would like to know your choice and reason. Now I'm going to start the comments. Let's have a get back to where we were. Oregon. I do intend to replace my Mark 1 1.4 Zetec for 1.6 Zetec or 1.8 Zetec. Which do you prefer? And right, for your car, because it's a 1.4, go for 1.6, because changing the complete engine means changing large parts of the wine loom. If you've got a 1.4, very minimal changes will be needed to make it a 1.6. Okay, 1.6 Sigma Zetec SE, please. That'd be your best bet. And they aren't slouches at all. Pingu also have a 92 216 GSI with the Honda Slushmatic Auto. Wow, that's lovely. Goodness me. I mean, I've driven the Rover R8 216 Honda Matic, and I've driven recently the Honda Concerto equivalent 1.4 automatic. So Rover only offered it was only offered as the 1.6D series if you bought the automatic, but on the Honda Concertos you could get the 1.4D series, and that's a lovely comparison video which hopefully I'll be doing at some point and filming. Nice video. And yes, I think the CVT is far better, but the Honda Matic has its place. They never go wrong. And it's always a good thing with automatics when you know that you don't find spare gearboxes for them, because you don't need a spare. They never go wrong. Thank you, Dave. Great videos you make. I've learned a lot. Dave, my name's not Dave. I'm confused about that. My name's not Dave. When did I say it was Dave? I've got the wrong end of the stick there. No, my name's Andy. Dave. Interesting one. Taras, I agree. Never disconnect negative while running. You will fry the ECU. In fact, because my power steering looks red, very dark red, but red. Yeah, it's the wrong stuff. Someone's put ATF fluid in there. Oh, for goodness sake. Yeah, it would be a flushing job. But as you've told me about the situation where you cannot work on your car outside your own property, that's a good garage job, but you're going to have to explain to them. In fact, you might have to get the garage to look at this. This has happened 3 times recently. I've had messages off 3 different people to say that they have actually shown their mechanic me explaining how to do a job on a Mark 1, and the mechanics have watched the video and said, this guy knows his stuff, I'll do that then. And they've copied me. Professional mechanics copying me. I don't know what's worse. No, to be fair, what I do is explain it quite clearly. So if you want to show your mechanics that, Taras, they will do the job exactly like that. Just explain exactly how it works, and what to do so they can do it for you. It would take them half an hour. It'd take them half an hour. It shouldn't be that much labour. And I tell you what, 30 minutes of labour, 15, 20 pounds worth of fluid. Oh my God, it was the best money you've ever spent, Tadas. Try it, seriously. I think there's so many Mark 1 owners who are right now buying this power steering fluid, and I'm so pleased you are, because I'm so pleased that Nick's car was a perfect demonstration of this, because I did it to my own Focus and it had such a difference. I couldn't believe what I was driving on, even though my power steering had never been filled with ATF, and I made sure that I always put the green stuff in. But I'd never flushed it. Topping up's good, but flushing it isn't. Do you know if there's some period in which the facelift Mark 1 had steering wheel from the pre-facelift with a small logo? Sorry, I'm losing the comments here. Sorry, I just had to bring that back up, Marion. Yeah, the facelift. My car's a facelift, and it's got the small logo and the nicer airbag. It's a bit slimmer. It is a bit slimmer. There's a bit of a difference in the profile between the two. The changeover was somewhere around 2003. I'm trying to narrow that down a bit by looking at Mark 1s, asking when they were registered, looking at the steering wheel, making a mental note and narrowing the field down. I haven't done that yet, but it's somewhere around early 2003. So yeah, that's interesting. Maybe it's a question I need to put on the Mark 1 focus group about when your car was registered and whether you got a big or small airbag. That's an interesting one. I should do that. Do you have a specific schedule for these? Today was completely random, and I don't have a schedule, mainly because my life is so flip-floppy. It's going to be like this long term. I don't have a specific time that I can actually pin down and guarantee I can do a live stream at this time. It's just the way things are, mate. Unfortunately. And this one was, I actually just randomly thought of this idea. Come play with chat. I'm probably first woman here, but nice to hear from you always. Monica here. So sorry for long, Nick. No problem. Lovely for you to join us. Tadas, good luck testing compression on diesel. First job, break the glow plug. Secondly, start swearing and then give up. That sounds like a horrible job. And I wouldn't want to start that job. The idea is that you test the compression on your diesel when you want to do the glow plug replacement job. Not when you want to do a compression job and you just want to take them out and put them back in, because when you take them out, put new ones in. Also, I need to change the piston rings in the new Panther Black. You need to change the piston rings. You're joking? Is it burning oil? Do you know what degrees apart from... Right. Unfortunately, Marion, I'm going to have to let you down here. You can't really do that on a Mark... It's a Sigma 1.6. Whatever engine it is, whether it's a Sigma or Zetec, you can't take the pistons out because unfortunately you've got to disturb the bottom end bearings, and apparently there's no torque settings for them. You can probably get some torque settings from somewhere that will get you somewhere, because they would have been torqued up in the factory, but unfortunately there are no torque settings that are available, because you're not meant to disturb the bottom end of that engine. Although I fancy, if you have a Mark 1 Focus with bearings that are going in the bottom end, I fancy you can get bearings off another engine, chop them to size and refit to the original faces and torque them to something similar that you would get in other engines. An engine builder will know what to do with that, so it's not irreparable. But are you getting burning smoke? When are you getting burning smoke as well? Because you could just need to do some oil changes. If piston rings are burning in a Zetec or Sigma, it can be very minor and can be corrected by multiple oil changes. I will say that again. Adam, does the Mark III Fiesta suffer from boot leaks? Come on, guys, vote. If you give me an indication of should I put the Focus in the gauge, keep the Focus where it is, or Ruby, because I've got a dilemma to do, and I'm in one mindset of where Ruby is going, but I need your opinion just for the argument's sake, because I do like to ask people. what you would do and why. Um, Ruby, right? Well, the thing is, Adam, the question is irrelevant because whichever car is outside my window, they will be under a cover. Now, there is a risk with the Focus that if I put a car cover on that, we will get scratches. Personally, I don't mind. The roof hasn't been done yet. The bonnet has been resprayed. I will scratch that up. It's inevitable that the bodywork will get a bit scratched up, but not massively. It will be a good car cover and I'll make sure it's good if I do decide to go down this route. But it's irrelevant because even if it was a torrential monsoon, there won't be enough water, breathing, that will penetrate that cover to get underneath the cover to create a pool in my boot. So it will never happen. And by the way, both cars are under my one policy. You do not drive those cars in the rain, Ruby or the Focus. When rain comes out and there's damp at play, those cars do not come out to play. It's as simple as that. So that is also irrelevant. The Fiesta is the same. There's water, there's no leaks in the Fiesta because it's under a car cover. I will never leave these cars in a monsoon, ever. Craig, evening team, just in the house. Hello, Craig. How are you, sir? I am going to finish this live stream in 20 minutes. Oh, actually in 13 minutes because I need to be asleep at 11 o'clock. Or just after. Just in the house. I had a haste day with Mrs. Daly, but got to TJ Haters and got a bit done in his Mark 1 TDCi Sport. Nice cars. I got TDCi Sports are really good cars, so I'm not surprised. He's definitely going to be keeping that. So I'm glad you've given a bit of help on that one. It's nice to know that, actually. Pingu, I would like to put Ruby in the garage as the Focus would have better corrosion protection. I agree. Tadas, I told the mechanic to change the power steering fluid and they said it is nice you don't need to change. It took me a long talk to ask them to do the brake fluid because nobody wants call to tell. Look, you're paying them, Tadas. Do they not want the job? Honestly. A lot of garages will say that. In fact, actually, my garage, who are very well versed in a lot of cars, they once told me that the valve clearances don't need to be done in my Focus because it's got hydraulic lifters. Flipping it. Honestly, these garages, these are mass-produced cars, and they don't even know what lifters, the kind of lifters they have. Have they never taken the rocker cover off while these things? Of course they have. They've done rocker covers. You have to take the rocker cover off to do a timing belt on one of these things. It's a service item. And you haven't noticed that that's not a bloody hydraulic lifter. That's a flat bucket dry cam. Oh, blimey neck. Honestly. Garages don't know anything. So trying to convince them to do anything is kind of difficult. And when you've got the garage saying, you don't need to do that, you got hydraulic lifters, and I'm thinking, no, I haven't, mate. I ain't got hydraulic lifters. Yes, you have, mate. No, I haven't, mate. I've had that conversation before. Trying to argue with the garage. Right, you better stop the comments now, guys, because I'm going to get to this. The caliper... Oh, I see that the caliper broke for the brake. Oh, goodness me, what on pain. Thanks for the advice. But I meant like if you were to buy another or sell 1.4, then I tend to buy another Focus, which is better engine overall. I'm scared. Which is the better engine? 1.8 probably. The 1.8 is a nice niche, but the 1.6 should never be underlooked. It's a great engine. It really shouldn't be. Got to go. Nice talking to you. Thank you, Pingu. And oh god, that sounds really bad. That Pingu. That's a great name. I'll talk to you soon. CVT drive plates. Have that in the mind. I don't know how much they're going to be once we've bought them, but I think they're going to be less than £100 if we do try and sell them. Just to make things affordable for people. It's always good to do that. Anyway. I will leave you be. You take care. Come play with chat. Black Focus at garage because it would not be tempting eyes of other people. Interesting. Ruby needs to be fixed, but you can move cars on fixing time. I know it will be annoying, but you can try a few times. You mean move the car that needs to be fixed here or at the garage? Well, for a start, even though the garage is only down the road, I can't be bothered doing that. Whatever car needs work has to be outside my window. There's another point that's hit my head. My Focus could do some jobs, and where it is in the garage is discouraging me from doing those jobs. So when Ruby's finished, the engine has been done, and hopefully we've got no issues and the engine hasn't blown up as a result of my work. It won't. That car will be done, and I think that car can go down the road to the garage, and the Focus could possibly come back up to the house to be in its rightful place outside my window under a car cover, and then I can get cracking on a few jobs because it's there instead of being down the road, because Ruby will be finished, well, as finished as she is, and she'll need to be protected. And I'm also very wary about Ruby being on the driveway. She might be outside my window, but it's so easy for somebody to break into a Mark III Fiesta. I've seen what people do. They bend the top of the door down and they bend it out. And I've seen someone with a Mark III Fiesta on one of the Facebook groups, and his car was parked up on the road for one day, and some idiot bent the door and tried to get in. Wrecked the door. And I just think, do you know something? I know it's in a better place. It's not off the road. I want Ruby locked away out of eyes. I don't want Ruby locked. I would prefer the Focus. A more precious car to me, nevertheless, but I think a more proportionate car to be outside. And that will mean my Focus looks a bit more broken in terms of the paint. I'm actually thinking that now rather than not. I understand where you're coming from though, and it's playing on my head a bit. Dave, mine as Mercon Thief. No, this is wrong. Even Ford dealers are getting this wrong. You should not be putting Mercon 5 is ATF fluid. It's rubbish. It's rubbish. That stuff, mate, needs to come straight back out and be flushed straight down the drain. Well, not down the drain, obviously, environment. Literally, you get some milk bottles and that stuff has to be flushed out, and the green stuff has to be put back in. Honest to God, you're driving on such rubbish steering. I don't even have to tell you that without even touching your car. I don't have to. Oh no, it's shit. You need to put the green stuff in there, and you will thank me for that. You will really thank me. You'll say, this car handles so nicely now. Now I've done the fluid change. Trust me, Dave. Stick. Hello. Focus was built September 1st of December, and it has the big logo airbag. Thank you for telling us. That's interesting. So you've killed my myth about early 2003 straight away. There might have been crossovers, but now I've got a note of that now. I'm going to investigate that more. Maybe we should have the airbag data exercise. So December 2002. Okay, that's interesting. Adam, that's fair enough. In that case, I'd put the Mark III in the garage. Marion was not burning oil. After the timing belt change, the crankshaft pulley bolt came loose and the engine got damaged. I have to change the pistons. Oh, bugger it. How do you know the pistons have been damaged? Have you got the head off? You'll have to take the head off. The only way of knowing what damage, well, you're going to have to do this. You either get another engine, or you get that. You will cost nothing. You might as well get that head off. Take the cylinder head off. Okay, disconnect inlet, exhaust, get the head off. That's the only way you'll know if there's been damage inside the cylinders to the pistons. You may have got away with it. You may have just bent some valves. If you've bent the valves can be changed for new ones, cutting, grinded, head back on, no problems. You might have got away with it. If there's damage to the pistons, new engine. I'm sorry. It'd be just easier for you. And there's plenty around. You could probably get a low mileage engine. That would be even better for you. I know we all like to retain the original engine, but just do it. Take the head off. You've got nothing to lose. Sorry about this. My cursor has gone. Right, we've got 4 minutes. Oh, I don't know why that's happened. I don't know why the message has been pinned. I don't want to pin a message. Unpin. Oh, yeah, it's gone. Sorry about that. It came up on my screen just then. Here in Romania, it's really common to replace piston rings when the car starts to burn oil. Yes, but you can't with these. You can't with these, my friend. You need a new engine. Sorry about that. Not at the moment. I got to go now. We'll catch you again. Take care, Adam. Focus outside of the garage. Eye-catching young timer and in general overall looking. Fiesta could be in a stage of readiness in 1 to 2 years, perhaps. Interesting. Okay, that's an interesting thought. Tadas, main bearing, 89 Newton meters. Right. Okay. I would probably, well, the main bearings, so the main crank bearings, 89 Newton meters, stage 1. 89 Newton meters, stage 1 for the big end bearings, 15, and then 90 degrees twice. That makes sense. That does ring a bell. That's for the Zetec. Yeah, the Sigma is a bit of a different animal to the Zetec, even though the Zetec you can't really mess with them too much, but they do give torque settings out. I would probably copy that for the Sigma, but you really are risking it. You are risking it. Depends if you can get if you can't get an engine, then that is a different problem in itself. All specs are in the Ford TIS. There isn't for a Sigma. There won't be for a Sigma. I can assure you about that. And I would say keep the focus in the garage, because if you remember saying Ruby was temporary. She's not temporary no more. Tadas, she's not temporary. I think she's staying with me permanently. I think I'm permanently set as a free car person, and I've got my cars. Which is why I won't be introducing any new. There'll be no new cars from me on the channel. I will work on other people's cars when I get the chance, but there's going to be things going on with what I'm doing next year, and it's not going to be quite the same as this year. It's going to be a little bit quieter next year because of my work life changing as well. Later things that I'll be talking about in October. So no, that's changed. Yeah, I would also say keep the focus in the garage. As you said, that paint is pretty pretentious. It is the paintwork issue. But there's a flip side to this. If my Focus starts getting scratches to the paintwork, not massive, just little scratches that you will get from a car cover, that you will get from wear and tear and exposure, I think that will encourage me to use the car more, because what I've found with that garage is that it's two-sided. It's a double-edged sword. It's in the fantastic environment, but because it's in a perfect environment, I don't want to use it as much. And therefore, I'm not enjoying the ownership as much. So you've got to get the balance right between the right environment to look after a car, but also using it. Now, Ruby is going to be used far less. And I think I would feel right that she's in that garage. I might do a thing where we just do Ruby comes out, the Focus goes back in. Or I don't know, we could do a flip. Every 6 months I start changing the cars around. Also, it depends what work needs to be done. If Ruby needs some work in the future, if let's say I do the engine job, she works, she stops burning oil, which is the intention for that job. It's the main reason why I'm doing it. She goes down to the garage, the Focus comes back, do a few jobs with the Focus. It lives outside during a bit of a harsh winter, but it's under a cover. It's okay. It will cope. The Fiesta's tucked away, but then the Fiesta, something goes wrong with it, and I need to get it back up the hill and bring it outside my window and swap the cars over so I can deal with that, because I don't like going down the road and going. I just don't like going down the road and working on a car at the garage unless it's a small job. If it's a big job, if it's a long-term job, I don't like hauling tools down the hill. I've done that before where you forget one tool and you have to come back home. It's horrible. I can't do that. I've done it before. I'm not doing it. So that's why my mind isn't set about this. But I can't believe I'm actually going to say this, but the Focus could be outside again because of how nice that Fiesta is. I just look at that Fiesta and I think it is sacrilege. I shouldn't be keeping this outside. There is nobody that will tell me why what I'm doing with the Fiesta is right. Honestly, I'd love to afford 2 garages, but then where's the fun in that? That means I've got literally one car. It might sort some storage issues if I have problems storing cars here. But where's the fun in that? If I've got, obviously the Rover's the main car, I love the Rover, but I also need something else. And it's just nice to have the Fiesta or the Focus around as well. And I just think that wouldn't be fun, that would, to have 2 cars in 2 separate garages. And if I want to work on any of them, I've got to get it back out and bring it at the house. And therefore that's an empty garage. And I'm paying rent on an empty garage because I've got to drag the Focus or the Fiesta back to my house to have some work done. See the point here? So I've always thought, do you know what? 1 garage is enough and I've got to keep swapping them over. So it's that's where I kind of stand with that. Excuse me, hold on a second. My screen has gone a bit funny at the moment. Why has my screen gone like that? Sorry about this. Oh, God. Minimize it. Right, for some reason, I can't actually... Excuse me, my laptop's gone a bit dull. Right, let me just keep coming down. I've got to end up the comments here. I am too late for bed day, which is why I'm going to roll through. So no more comments. I'm going to get through these and I'm going to finish it. Thanks for your videos. You will show more. It's golden. Although I haven't started work. I'm a newbie. Doesn't matter. And I love my Focus, even though it's a 1.4. I love Nick's 1.4. I love the 1.4s. I think they're not as underpowered as what people think. You just got to look after them to keep them efficient. I also have a 1.4. It's slow, but I love it. Learn lots of things. Get the Haynes repair manual. Lots of info. I agree. I totally agree. Craig, keep the Fiesta in the garage. Too easy target for theft. Yes. Yes. I agree. I can also fit a tracker to that car as well. Oh dear me, I've given my theft protection away. But no, to be honest with you, I feel like fitting trackers to all my cars in a discreet area that you'll never know. That's something I've got to do actually. Yes, and I would recommend trackers for cars. I really do. If you've got a precious car, and you have spent a lot of money on it, and it's desirable enough to be stolen, I'd put a tracker on it. If you've not got a desirable car, then fantastic. The beauty is nobody's going to steal it. The head came off when it was repaired. The bent valves replaced. All good. One piston's got a hole in it. You need to get a new engine. You can't do it, I'm afraid, Marion. I really must state that. Oh, you've already purchased another engine, but want the pistons out. My engine has a low mileage and that's why I want to repair it. If you take it all apart, just that one cylinder and that big end, and you torque it up to a Zetec spec torque, you might stand a chance. We'll see about that. But just take your time. I personally think that's a 50-50 job, but see how it goes. But I think a new engine, personally. But I might be wrong. You're right. They say blah, blah. You can't remove this because they cheap out and make from aluminium. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the problem. Keep in the garage. Ruby is more fragile. It certainly is. Marion, I bought a second-hand hard copy. Good. Hard copy of the manual is superb and it will last you in good stead. Well, I'm going to leave this live stream here. And yes, I just thought I'd ask some opinions, because there will be a few things that will be changing from what I'm doing. My work life is also changing, which means, unfortunately, YouTube is going to be very much at the back elbow. I do recommend that if people have just started watching me, you go back and watch some of my old videos, Mark 1 videos especially, and Rover videos if you're into Rovers. And you'll find a lot out already that I have covered, and it will be in a video that I've already spoken about. So I've no need to make quite a few new videos because I've covered a lot of it already. But there's plenty more videos to be made. The videos might be a little bit less forthcoming after October, and I will explain why near the time. But to make it quite clear, things will be a bit more quiet, for my sake anyway. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. Live streams as well. I may do live streams a bit more, because it will be the main way that I can actually remain in contact with people and not do as many videos, because I don't necessarily have the time to make as many videos now. But we'll leave this here. And you take care, guys. I will see you in another episode. And this is where we finish. I've just realised this isn't actually me filming it. This is where I stop, and then I'll say GoPro stop recording, and it will stop recording. I have to actually stop it myself physically. Take care.